السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته يا شيخنا.
الله
السلام
أكبر.
عليكم.
نعم.
نعم يا شيخ.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أما بعد, our book on these days is Ad-Da'u Wad-Dawa by Al-Imām ibn Al-Qayyim rahimahullah. Ad-Da'u Wad-Dawa by Al-Hafiz ibn Al-Qayyim Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr as-Siddiq rahimahullah is the book we are looking at. I just generally mentioned Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. His father's name was Abu Bakr rahimahullah. In the last class, the discussions were about what are the things that affect Ruqya. We have mentioned the efficacy of the Quran in terms of obtaining goodness and in terms of putting away evil, in terms of looking for cure, in terms of looking for healing for diseases, whether that disease is ruhiyun or qalbiyun or badaniyun. We said the Quran, like Allah said to us, it's shifa'un, it's cure. وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Likewise, we mentioned the particular incidents by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu when he made ruqya upon an individual who was stung by a scorpion and was looking for cure for it. As we moved further, Ibn al-Qayyim emphasized, rahimahullah, he said, وَلَوْ أَحْسَنَ الْعَبْدُ التَّدَاوِيَ بِالْفَاتِحَةِ لَا رَأَى لَهَا تَأْثِيرًا عَجِيبًا فِي الشِّفَاءِ. لَوْ أَحْسَنَ الْعَبْدُ التَّدَاوِيَ بِالْفَاتِحَةِ. If the individual would perfect seeking cure and healing, obtaining cure by reading Surah Al-Fatiha, لا رأى لها تأثيرا عجيبا في الشفاء. You would have seen very, very big, outstanding potency and efficacy for Fatiha about healing and curing. He gave an example of when he himself was in Makkah and he was ill, rahimahullah. He said, "Ta'tarini adawa'un wala ajidu tabiban wala dawa'an." He was afflicted by a lot of illnesses and he would not find a doctor, neither would he find anything as a means of cure. He said, rahimahullah, فَكُنْتُ أُعَالِجُ نَفْسِي بِالْفَاتِحَةِ. So I went on obtaining cure for myself by reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. He went on to tell us that many people after that time asked him for a means of cure. He recommended that they should recite Surah Al-Fatiha upon themselves. And many of them, he said, rahimahullah, فَكَانَ كَثِيرٌ مِّنْهُمْ يَبْرَأُ سَرِيعًا. And many of those that he would recommend Surah Al-Fatiha for healing, for cure, for their diseases, whether that disease has to do with the ones on their limbs or in their soul or in their qulub, in their hearts. He said, rahimahullah, فَكَانَ كَثِيرٌ مِّنْهُمْ يَبْرَأُ سَرِيعًا. Many of them obtained cure. They were healed very quickly when they employed Surah Al-Fatiha. He now called our attention to a matter that deserves good attention. He said, وَلَكِنْ هَا هُنَا أَمْرٌ يَنْبَغِي التَّفَطُّنُ لَهُ. There's a matter that requires that we pay good attention to it. So he said that matter is that هو أن الأذكار والآيات والأدعية التي يستشفى بها ويرقى بها هي في نفسها نافعة شافية. He said these azkars, the verses of the Quran, and those expressions of dua that we employ to seek cure, وَيُرْقَى بِهَا, and that with which we make ruqya, هِيَ فِي نَفْسِهَا نَافِعَةٌ شَافِيَةٌ. These prayers themselves, the entirety of the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha, and other portions of the Quran, likewise other verses and other supplications the Prophet has taught, alayhi salatu wasalam, they are themselves nafi'atun. They are very, very beneficial and efficacious. Shafiyatun. They themselves, Allah has made them a means of cure. He said, but walakin tastad'i qabul al-mahalli wa quwwata himmati al-fa'ili wa ta'thirahu. He said, but two things remain. Qabulu al-mahal, the place or the person receiving the ruqya itself must have acceptance. He must have accommodation. Someone receiving the cure itself must be able, he must have a body or a mind or the heart or the ruh that will accommodate and accept that this cure, that is the verses or the supplications, will have influence on him. That's tad'i qabul al-mahal. This is the first thing. The second thing is wa quwwata himmatil fa'il. The person himself who is administering the cure, he must have a himma. He must have firmness of purpose. He must have some sort of firmness, determination to create an impact, وَتَأْثِيرَهُ, and his own capacity to actually bring about that impact and potency, meaning that the person who is administering ruqya, you yourself must have a soul, you must have a mind, you must have the firmness of purpose to be able to create an impact. Further in this book, this point, Ibn Al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he describes this thing as nafsun fa'alatun wa himmatun mu'athiratun. You that you are giving the ruqya, you must have a nafsun fa'ala, a soul that is active, an active soul, a soul that has capacity, the soul that has influence of impact. Wahimmatun mu'athiratun. You must also have a kind of a firmness in your mind. That firmness will bring about change. You must have this thing, a mind that can cause impact. One of the brothers was asking, can you please explain this a bit? I said, we have largely two kinds of people in terms of impact. There are some people, they can create impact of goodness. They have a soul. They have a ruh, the way Allah has created it, because that itself can be natural, instinctive. It may be right like that. That is the way Allah has made that person. And it may be that he has acquired it by some sort of adherence to regular ibadah, adherence to regular acts, deeds of worship that drew him close to Allah. And then from the responses, from the gains of that is that Allah makes his soul a soul that is impacting. When everybody, for example, everybody can give a sermon to a person who is engrossed in sins. The person's soul may not have any impact, but when you give it to him, he feels the impact. That impact arose from the mind and the soul of the person who is giving the da'wah. This is how many of the messengers and the prophets of Allah are. When they say something, when they give da'wah, when they make dua, when they ask Allah for barakat upon a person, you see the impact. Allah has created them to have nafsun fa'alatun, a soul that is active, wa himmatun mu'athiratun, and a very, very strong determination to create an impact. So the impact can be created for goodness. So it may be that they can make dua and you see the impact. They can talk to somebody, the person receives the impact inside his mind. They can talk to a people, and the people they discuss would begin to weep sincerely, asking Allah for tawbah. They have an ability to create impact and influence. That is the way Allah has created them, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or that they had done some things that made Allah to make them become people of very effective impact and influence upon others. So we say they have nafsun fa'ala. They have a soul that is active. It can do something. It has capacity and ability. Wa himmatun mu'athira. They have himma, a very firm purpose. They want to do it. And the soul itself is capable. So when they make adhkar, when they make ruqya, you see the impacts on the person receiving that ruqya. That is what we have with Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, such that as he recited Surah Al-Fatiha, the person became cured by the power of Allah. That is what you find in the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, was why as he read Afa Hasibtum, the person stood up and walked as nothing has happened to him. They have a mind, a soul that is what? Fa'ala. That is what? Mu'athira. They have a soul that is active and that is impactive. It can cause a change. These, like I said, it comes naturally. That is the way Allah has made you. Or that you were upon acts of ibadah and then Allah made you like that. It is also possible that you were like that and you are able to sustain it and grow it. That is a third way to achieve a kind of a soul that is fa'alatun mu'athira. I hope that that is clear. Now for goodness is what we have been talking about. There are some people who have anfus like that. They have souls that is fa'alatun mu'athiratun bishar. It is an active soul, it is impactive, and it can bring about evil. So those are the kinds of soul the ayn has. The person who has serious ayn, it can bring an impact. It arises the hazard that creates serious impacts, shar, in the individual. Likewise, the sahir. These people, or some of those we have seen in public as social media celebrities. Some of them, they have a followership of 50 million, 100 million. Why? Their souls create impacts of what they are upon their followers. Impacts of evil. You listen to them and you begin to want to be with them. You look at them, merely looking at them. I remember that Shaykh Salih Al-Husaymi, Hafizahullah, has mentioned something like this when he was advising the Muslim to avoid even looking at some people because they have a soul that is what? Fa'alatun mu'athira. That soul is very active and very, very influential and impactful. So when they speak and you look at them, you want to do what they are doing. You want to be like them. You are pushed Just like on the other hand, you are pushed for goodness. When you look at them and listen to them, you are pushed for evil. You want to commit the kind of evil. Nas'alullah as-salamata wal afiyah. They are people like this. They have athar. And that comes either from their soul too. That's how they are. Or that they were upon evil and then their souls began to become evil, so evil that it can even impact over that with the kind of evil that it has become drunk with. I hope that this matter is clear. So there are human beings who have nafsun or anfus fa'alatun wa himmatun mu'athira. These things affect the ruqya, the person making the ruqya and the kind of soul that he has. Then the person receiving ruqya and the kind of soul and the body that he has. Then the third thing we have about healing with ruqya is the ruqya itself. So the ruqya itself is the medicine. Then the person administering the medicine must have nafsun fa'alatun mu'athiratun bil khair. Then the person receiving the ruqya must also have a reception for it. Just like Ibn Al-Qayyim said, rahimahullah, this one also happens in mundane healing. A person is given a medicine, paracetamol, for example. Paracetamol, when we have headache and fever, we take it. That is the medicine and that is what it does. But if you find a person, because of his genetic composition, when you give him this kind of a medicine, his body will reject the medicine. The third thing is about the person who is giving the medicine. It may be somebody who is very experienced about medicals. He may be somebody whose experience is small. He may be somebody whose experience is big. We give an example that you cannot compare a neurosurgeon who has spent 50 years on neurosurgery, the young man who just graduated from university as a student of surgery, while bringing the care of surgery upon their patient. This 40 years of experience, the surgeon with 40 years of experience administering surgery. In this case, the cure itself is surgery and the patient that is involved in the surgery. So these three things, the interplay of them is what we see in terms of healing and in terms of what? Cure. Who is administering the cure? Who is receiving the cure? And the cure itself. The interplay of these three things, they manifest in how quick. Sometimes someone takes a medicine for an illness for 3 days. Another person will have to take it for 6 days. Another will have to take it for 6 months, depending on how his body is able to adapt to that medicine that is being provided by the medical doctor. The same thing applies to dua. Ibn Al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he explained to us that فَإِنَّهُ مِنْ أَقْوَى الْأَسْبَابِ فِي دَفْعِ الْمَكْرُوهِ. Dua is from, if you are on the copy on the screen, it occurs on page 9. Dua is from min aqwa al-asbab, from the strongest means fi daf'il makruh, to put away things you don't like. One of the strongest ways to keep away things, to drive away problems, to drive away troubles, to drive away discomfort is dua. He said, rahimahullah, wa husulil matlub. Likewise, from the strongest means to obtain your desires is by employing dua. ولكن قد يتخلف عن أثره قد يتخلف عنه أثره. It is possible for you to find that the individual is making dua regarding something ويتخلف عنه أثر الدعاء, and then he is not finding the athar, the impact of his dua. He's making dua, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, and he's not finding the impact. He gave us 3 reasons why that can be like that. The first one, he called it the dua of the dua itself. The dua itself is weak. What makes a dua weak? You are making a dua regarding an act of sin. You are begging Allah for a sin. Asking Allah you want to steal money. Asking Allah you want to dupe somebody. Asking Allah you want to commit zina. Asking the sin. What you are asking for itself is unlawful. So such a dua is weak in itself. Another thing that weakens a dua is saying that I have been asking Allah and He has not given me. That weakens the dua itself. So weak dua affects your dua. The dua itself you make itself is weak. The second thing that affects the dua is ضعف qalbi ad-da'i. You that you are making the dua, you have weakness. Weakness of iman. Weakness of certainty of getting answers from Allah. The weakness. The weakness is also because of rainy, zunub. The sins have blocked the hearts. Or likillatil iman fil qalb. Because the iman in the heart is also small. He doesn't trust. It's just, let's try dua. There are many people like this. Say, let's try. Maybe. He's not certain. He feels maybe. So if the dua is weak and the heart giving the dua is weak, Ibn Al-Qayyim gave us an example. It is like a man firing an arrow with a weak string. You fire an arrow from a bow and the bow has a string that is weak. How do you fire an arrow with a string that is weak? The string should be strong so that when you stretch the string, it goes and then you can release an arrow that will travel a journey to your destination. But when the string is weak, how do you fire the arrow? So the qalb is weak, the dua is weak. He gave us a third reason why our dua may not be effective. The third reason is that you have mawani'. You have mawani'. He called it, rahimahullah, he said, لِحُصُولِ الْمَانِعِ مِنَ الْإِجَابَةِ. You have things preventing that your arrow from reaching its destination. حُصُولُ الْمَوَانِعِ. He said, لِحُصُولِ الْمَانِعِ مِنَ الْإِجَابَةِ. You have something preventing that your dua may be answered. So the dua may be strong, may be qawi. The heart that is making the dua may be strong, qawi, but the arrows itself may be blocked off from reaching destination by some things. He said, min aklil haram, like eating haram, was zulm. A person always upon wrongdoing and injustice. وَرَيْنِ الذُّنُوبِ عَلَى الْقُلُوبِ. Like that, the heart is already consumed on sins, filled up by sins. وَاسْتِئْلَاءِ الْغَفْلَةِ وَالسَّهْوِ وَاللَّهْوِ. And this individual is overwhelmed with al-ghafla, absent-mindedness. وَالسَّهْوِ. He is overwhelmed with laxity. وَاللَّهْوِ. He is overwhelmed with play and jest. When a man is like this, وَالذُّنُوبِ, is also overwhelmed with sins. When a person is like this, yes, he can make a dua, but it will not fly. These are things that will strike away the effectiveness of the dua. He said, rahimahullah, he gave us an example that the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, in the hadith of Abu Huraira, radiyallahu anhu, that has been collected by Al-Imām Hakim Al-Nisaburi and Al-Imām Al-Tirmidhi. He said, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, ud'u Allah wa antum muqinuna bil ijaba. Call on unto Allah. Invoke Allah while you are upon certainty that Allah will grant your dua. That is talking about sound heart, sound qalb. The qalb is sound. وَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ. You should understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لا يقبل دعاء من قلب غافل لاهٍ. You should understand that Allah will not accept the dua min qalbin ghafilin, from a mind that is absent from the place of request. You are making dua, but your mind is far away. Lahin. The mind is busy and distracted, full of distractions, full of play, full of jests. Allah will not accept this kind of a dua. He said, Rahimahullah, فَهَذَا دَوَاءٌ نَافِعٌ مُزِيلٌ لِلدَّاءِ. Dua is dawa'un, is a medicine, nafi'un, very beneficial, muzilun lidda. It takes away discomfort, it takes away diseases, it takes away difficulty, it takes away problems, it takes away sins. Bi'idhnillah. Walakinna ghaflat al-qalb. But when the mind is absent, the individual is absent-minded, he has a lot of laxity in his mind. He said, وَلَكِنَّ غَفْلَةَ الْقَلْبِ عَنِ اللَّهِ. The mind is distracted away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's making dua, but his mind is far away. This kind of a condition, تُبْطِلُ قُوَّتَهُ. It will destroy the strength of the dua. If you want your dua to be strong, make proper dua. Ensure, make efforts on your heart, and then be sure there are no mawani'. There are no things that will push away the efficacy of your dua and destroy your flying arrow, making it not reach destination. These things will affect the efficacy of the dua. He said, Rahimahullah, وَكَذَلِكَ أَكْلُ الْحَرَامِ. Likewise, eating haram, yubtilu quwwatahu. It also destroys the strength of dua. He gave us an hadith on the fact that ghaflatul qalbi tubtilu quwwata dua. Absent-mindedness and laxity. Absent-mindedness during dua. Laxity during dua. Distractions during dua. Tubtilu quwwata dua. They destroy the efficacy of the dua. Absent-mindedness during dua, laxity during dua, playfulness during dua, distractions during dua, they destroy tubtilu quwwata dua. They destroy the strength of your dua. It said, وَكَذَلِكَ أَكْلُ الْحَرَامِ. Likewise, when a person consumes haram, يُبْطِلُ قُوَّتَهُ. It will destroy the strength of your dua. It will not allow your arrows to reach their destination. How yud'ifuha. If it does not completely destroy it, it will weaken it. It will weaken the quwwah. How yud'ifuha, yani yud'ifu quwwata dua. It will weaken the strength. The strength of the dua is either completely destroyed, or it may be weakened by what? Aklul haram. Kama fi sahih Muslim min hadith Abi Hurairah. As it occurs in Sahih Muslim from the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu qal, who said that qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam said, Ayyuhan nas, O people, Inna Allah tayyibun la yaqbalu illa tayyiba. O people, Inna Allah tayyib. Allah is absolutely pure, subhanahu wa ta'ala. La yaqbalu illa tayyiba. He will not accept anything except that is pure, that is clean, that is nice. Wa inna Allah amara al-mu'minin bima amara bihi al-mursalin. Certainly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala amara al-mu'minin. He has commanded the people of Iman bima amara bihi al-mursalin, with the same command that he had given his messengers. فقال, Allah said, Ya ayyuha ar-rusul, kulu min at-tayyibati wa'amalu salihan Inni bima ta'maluna alim. Ya ayyuhar rusul, O messengers, kulu min at-tayyibat. You should only eat from tayyibat, halalat. Allah commands his messengers, kulu min at-tayyibat. Eat from halal, wa'malu salihah, and do righteous deeds. Ulama say Allah connected between eating halal and good deeds. They say that al-halalu awnun ala al-amal salih. Eating halal is awnun, a means of help and support, ala al-amal salih, upon good deeds. If you know that you are hardly able to do good deeds, check what you eat. Check your means of earnings. If it is haram, you will be finding good deeds difficult. And if it's halal, bi'idhnillah, Allah will be making good deeds easy for you. So here in this verse, Allah says, Ya ayyuhar rusul, O you messengers, kulu min at-tayyibat. What you should eat is haram, is halal. What you should abstain from is haram. What you should eat is tayyibat, halalat, wa'amalu salihah. And then you should do good deeds. Inni bima ta'maluna alim. I am well aware of everything that you do. Whatever you do, I know it. When you eat haram, I know. If you ever eat halal, I know. If you go to haram, I know. Inni bima ta'maluna alim. Likewise, when I said wa'malu salihah, I know all your good deeds. When you observe salat, I know. When you give zakah, I know. When you go for hajj, I know. When you make tawbah, I know. You make qira'atul Quran, I know. So, but the first instruction is that kulu min at-tayyibat. Make sure that what you eat is halal. He said, وَقَالَ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said to his Rusul, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you people of Iman, kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum. Eat from halal. Everything that we have given to you, the one you should eat from is halal. Don't eat haram. So these are instructions from Allah. There is one directly to the Rusul. And when they have that kind of an instruction, we all are enjoined to follow them. If Allah commits and if Allah commands a messenger to do something, He has commanded the followers of that messenger to do the same thing. If you look at Surah At-Talaq, when Allah said, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu idha talaqtumun nisa, He started saying an-nabiyyuko, but He said talaqtum, meaning you nabi and the rest of your followers. So if the command to Rusul is kulu min at-tayyibati wa'malu salihah, that is the same command to the people. Kulu min at-tayyibat. Eat only from the things that are halal. Wa'malu salihah. And then go good deeds. So the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu salam told us that Allah said the same thing to the people of Iman. Kulu min tayyibat. O you people of Iman. What you should eat is whatever is halal from the things that I have created. For us to understand the importance of eating only halal and abstaining from consuming haram, ثم ذكر الرجل. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned to us about a man, yutilu safar. That man, he had traveled very, very long journeys. Ash'asa aghbar. Ash'as, the man's hairs were completely disheveled. Aghbar, He had dust all over his body because he had traveled a very long distance in the desert. His head was scattered and his body was covered with the dust from the desert. This man, يَمُدُّ يَدَيْهِ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ, he stretched his hands to the heavens, saying, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. His condition itself, he had had a very, very long journey. So he will be tired, he will be exhausted, he will be in the situation of darura, needing help from Allah. Then yamuddu yadayhi ila sama. We said one of the ways, manners by which Allah answers our dua is when we stretch our hands towards Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he was saying, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. That is matter number 4. The first one is he was in the condition of darura. The second one is he was raising his hands up. The third one from the adab of dua was he was saying, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. Ikhwa, take this. From the manners of dua, when you say dua, add it to it. Ya Rab, Ya Rab. He likes to be called Ar-Rabb subhanahu. Oh my Lord, my Lord, my Lord, my creator, my sustainer, my helper. Ya Rab, Ya Rab. This man was calling upon Allah subhanahu, looking for help out of darura. He was tired, he was exhausted, covered in the dust. Perhaps he was alone, begging Allah, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, help me. The Prophet said, this same man, wa mat'amuhu haram. What he eats is haram. Wa mashrabuhu haram. What he drinks is haram. His food is either haram from two means. Maybe the way he earned the money was haram, or that the actual food itself he earned from halal, but he was eating the foods that are haram. Take a person who trades and his trades lawful. The means of his buying and selling are lawful. So he earns lawfully. He now buys pork to eat as food. This is from the aspects of mat'amun haram. He eats from haram. Or that the money with which he wants to buy beef, he got the money from haram. That mat'am is still what? Haram. So two ways that the mat'am can be haram, oh brothers. The first way is that the earning can be haram. When you earn from haram, it's a problem, ikhwa. Or that you earn halal, but you eat haram. Perhaps you eat beef of a meat that's not properly slaughtered. Or things like this. You eat pork. You eat pork. وَمَشْرَبُهُ haram. Likewise, what he drinks are haram. Whether he gets the money for the water he bought to drink from a haram business, from a haram work, from a haram transaction, or that he bought something that Allah has prohibited us from drinking, maybe alcohol. So mat'amuhu haram wa mashrabuhu haram. He said, alayhi salatu wassalam, wa malbasuhu haram. What he wears is also haram. How? The money with which he bought the cloth that he was wearing was haram. Or that the cloth she was wearing or he was wearing is haram. How? A woman can be improperly dressed. You may be wearing a dress that is a see-through. Yes, you are dressed, kasiyat, but you are still ariya. You are still, the cloth is on the body, but it is transparent. So the cloth itself can be haram. Or males who wear silk without an excuse. Males who wear silk without an excuse. Or males who wear golden ornaments. These days, males wear chains. It is haram. It is from the things that women wear. These days, males wear bangles. and the like of these. So malbasuhu haram. What he eats is haram. Wa mashrabuhu haram. What he drinks is haram. Wa malbasuhu haram. What he wears is haram. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, wa gudiya bil haram. He is nurtured upon haram. He said, alayhi salatu wasalam, فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابُ لِذَلِكَ. How can that kind of a man be answered? Yes, he was in a condition of darura. Yes, he was raising his hands, يَمُدُّ يَدَيْهِ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ. Yes, he was shouting, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. So this dua is qawi. But there is husulul mani'. There is something that will prevent that dua. So that is the reason many people, they say, we are making dua, no result. Yes. The dua can be qawi. The dua can be strong. You may have that strong zeal. Allah will answer me. Yes, I am sure. The dua itself is halal. You are in the condition requiring help from Allah. And you are actually calling him Ya Rab, with a name, with an expression, with a dhikr, with a verse of the Quran that when you call him by it, he grants it. But you have something pushing away your arrow. You have something diverting your arrow from the point where you need that dua. One of them is aklul haram. That is what we have seen in this hadith. The man was in the condition of darura. The man was raising his hands up. The man was shouting, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. But what he wears, everything about him, his clothing, his feeding, his drinking, his nurturing, everything about him is haram. The Prophet ﷺ said, فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابُ لِذَلِكَ. How come? How will this kind of a man be answered? The lesson here is when your dua is qawi, when your dua is strong, you have hopes in Allah. Make sure you are not doing the things that will bring back your dua, that will be destroying the dua. How you du'ifuha, destroying quwwat dua. Either destroying it completely, tubtiluha, or tud'ifu quwwataha. It will be weakening your dua. Some people, maybe the haram is from some small means. They make dua. The dua will be effective but weak. For some, the dua will be completely useless. Like the man who was shouting, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. The Prophet said, فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابُ لَهُ. How can that kind of a man be answered? The door is closed. So his qalb is hadir, his mind is present, he has yaqeen, the dua is lawful, but he has mawani', things that will destroy the strength of that dua or weaken the strength. They either completely destroy it or they weaken it. One of that is aklul haram. And that was why Ibn Al-Qayyim rahimahullah brought that hadith to affirm that point. Rahimahullah. He said, وَذَكَرَ عَبْدُ اللَّهِ ibn al-Imām Ahmad. Abdullah, the son of Al-Imām Ahmad. Al-Imām Ahmad ibn Hanbal had a son called Abdullah. He authored books and he helped compile the books that his father had authored. He said, وَذَكَرَ عَبْدُ اللَّهِ ibn al-Imām Ahmad fi kitab az-zuhd li-abihi. Abdullah mentioned, from the things Abdullah mentioned in Kitab az-Zuhd by his father. He helped compile many books by his father. Rahimahullah. He said that Al-Imam Ahmad mentioned in az-Zuhd that Asaba Bani Israel bala'an. Asaba Bani Israel bala'un. A trial, a difficulty, bala'un. Asaba Bani Israel. The Bani Israel were all of them coming out. Let us go and make dua. فأوحى الله عز وجل إلى نبيهم أن أخبرهم. Allah sent down a revelation. Allah inspired إلى نبيهم. Allah gave inspiration to the prophet who was with them at the time, alayhi salam, and akhbirhim. He said, say to them, inform your people, تخرجون إلى الصعيد بأبدان النجسة تخرجون إلى الصعيد. You are all going out to the open place to make dua, but بأبدان النجسة, with bodies that are filth. Your bodies are dirty. لماذا بذيت بالحرام. The entirety of the body was nurtured with haram. You are now coming out with a body that is haram. وَتَرْفَعُونَ إِلَيَّ أَكُفًّا قَدْ سَفَقْتُمْ بِهَا الدِّمَاءَ. And then تَرْفَعُونَ إِلَيَّ أَكُفًّا. You are all raising towards me palms. قَدْ سَفَقْتُمْ بِهَا الدِّمَاءَ. Palms that you had used to spread and spill blood. Your bodies are bodies of haram. Everything about it is haram. And you are raising to me akufan. You are raising your palms to me. Safaktum biha dima. The same palm you used to kill people. I think this one will be so appropriate with us in our own country. You see people, their hands are filled up with the blood of people. And then we come to say things are difficult. We are shouting in the country, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. And the hands are filled up. May Allah protect all of us from such evil. The hands are filled up with dima, with the blood, taking of lives, qatlu nafs. The Prophet was also told, وَمَلَأْتُمْ بِهَا بُيُوتَكُمْ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ. And your homes are full of haram. Homes may be full of haram, things of haram. These days, children watch things that are haram from their phones. Parents watch haram. Ummahat are busy watching Netflix now. The homes are full of haram. Yes, she may not be working outside the home, but she's busy with watching films. In those films, men behave indecently with women. In those films, things of haram are propagated. Some even have screens, TV sets, on which things that are not lawful are watched. Videos where you have cultists with occultic practices. When you do this inside your house, your home is becoming filled with haram, and you get busy with it. You sit down watching haram. These days, brothers become so busy ball matches in their homes, watching the laughs, watching kuffar, celebrating kuffar, shouting and jubilating over kuffar. Most of those who score those goals that some of our brothers have now taken as models, they call them goats now. Most of these people are people of kufr. You celebrate them, you jump, your home is full of haram. Some people bring indecent men to their homes. Some people bring indecent women to their homes. Some people bring indecent magazines to their homes. All of these things are means of making the homes become consumed in haram. These things will obstruct your dua. And you are saying that I'm making dua, my dua is not answered. Are you not poisoning yourself and poisoning your dua? This prophet, Awhallahu ila nabiyyihim. Allah gave revelation to their prophets. He should tell Banu Israel when they got involved in that serious trouble, they came out to make dua. They came out to beg Allah. Allah said, تَخْرُجُونَ إِلَى الصَّعِيدِ بِأَبْدَانٍ نَجِسَةٍ. You are all coming to public to ask for dua. بِأَبْدَانٍ نَجِسَةٍ. Your bodies are all nurtured upon haram. وَتَرْفَعُونَ إِلَيَّ أَكُفًّا قَدْ سَفَقْتُمْ بِهَا الدِّمَاءَ. You are raising to me hands that is filled of blood. You kill yourselves. You slaughter yourselves. You are an insurgent. You kidnap the people and take money over that. Your hands is filled with the blood of the people. وَمَلَأْتُمْ بِهَا بُيُوتَكُمْ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ. Your homes are full of haram. Al-an, now. حِينَ اشْتَدَّ غَضَبِي عَلَيْكُمْ. Now that my anger is very strong and severe against you, you are now coming out to ask me to say, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. Your home is full of haram. Your food is haram. Your palms are full of people's blood. You killed yourselves. And then you are now coming. Hina ishtadda ghadabi alaykum. Now that my anger is severe against you. That Nabi was told, وَلَن تَزْدَادُوا مِنِّي إِلَّا بُؤْدًا. When you call me, what will happen to you is that لَن تَزْدَادُوا مِنِّي إِلَّا بُؤْدًا. You will not gain from me except distance. What you will gain and continue to increase upon with me is both. As long as you eat haram, as long as you get your home busy with haram, as long as your hands are full of blood, killing yourselves. I think this one is so applicable in our own society. These things go on and on in our community. A lot of injustice, a lot of wrongdoing, a lot of kidnapping, taking the lives of people, and yet you are shouting, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. May Allah protect us. The point here is that your haram food, your haram earning, your haram clothes, looking at haram, fooling your homes with haram, it will prevent completely or reduce the efficacy of your dua. It will prevent your dua from being answered, or it will reduce the efficacy of your dua. So you'll be saying the said Surah Al-Fatiha is efficacious in Ar-Ruqyah. You will come, you recite Surah Al-Fatiha, yes, that is the medicine. But you administering the medicine, you have a problem. You have issues. You have worries. You have troubles with yourselves. May Allah protect us from all of these. وقال Abdullah ibn Ahmad ibn Hanbal, who mentioned that asar from his father, he also said, وقال Abu Dharr. He also said, mentioned that Abu Dharr radiyallahu anhu said, يكفي من الدعاء مع البر ما يكفي من الطعام من الملح. يكفي من الدعاء مع البر. When an individual is righteous, he is upon birr, he is upon righteousness, he is upon salat, he is upon zakah, he is upon sadaqat, he is upon hajj, he is upon umrah, he is upon tawbah, he is upon adhkar, he is upon khulukun hasan, good character, and all of these is upon birri. Yakfi min ad-du'a. He has sufficient, it is sufficient for him in his dua. When he needs something, the way he needs to make dua is the extent of the salt you need in for food. What is the extent of the salt you need in food? Just small, to make the food taste well. The same thing, the dua you will need when you are already upon righteousness before you achieve your results. How will that dua be? Just small, just Fatiha, just Falak, just Nas, just once. La ilaha illa ant, subhanak, inni kuntu min al-zalimin. Just once, the problem is solved. The way we need salt in food, that is the way, if you are a righteous person, the kind of salt you need in food, that is the way the dua you need if you are already upon righteousness. What does that mean? Righteousness supports your dua. Righteousness helps the efficacy of your dua. Righteousness helps the potency of your dua. Sticking to the commands of Allah and abstaining from His prohibitions, they help the efficacy of our dua. And Imam ibn Al-Qayyim continued, he said, Wad-Du'a'u, and oh brothers, dua min anfa'il adwiyah. I go back to it. It is from the most efficacious of medicines. He said, wa huwa aduwul bala. Dua is aduwul bala. It is the enemy of problems. It is the enemy of trouble. Dua is the enemy of diseases. Dua is the enemy, is the cure for ailments, whatever troubles. Shaykh Abdur-Raūf said, no matter the type of trouble, no matter the type of inconvenience, no matter the type of discomfort, dua is very, very efficacious regarding them. He said, Ibn Al-Qayyim said, rahimahullah, yudafi'uhu wa yu'alijuhu. Dua, yudafi'ul bala. It will push it away, it will not make it come to you. Wa yu'alijuhu. It will resolve it. وَيَمْنَعُ نُزُولَهُ. It will prevent it from coming and descending. وَيَرْفَعُهُ. If it has already come, dua will take it away. أَوْ يُخَفِّفُهُ إِذَا نَزَلَ. Or that when it comes, dua يُخَفِّفُ الْبَلَى. It will make it be easy. It was to be 90% intense. Dua will bring it to 10% intensity. Many times when you make dua over a trouble and part of that trouble happens, be thanking Allah. It might have been far much more than that. So dua is aduwul bala. It is the enemy of troubles and problems and tribulations. Yudafi'uhu wa yu'alijuhu. Yudafi'uhu, it puts it away. Yub'iduhu wa yu'alijuhu, it resolves troubles. Wa yamna'u nuzulahu, it prevents it from coming down to you. وَيَرْفَعُهُ. If it comes, it raises it, it pushes it away. أَوْ يُخَفِّفُهُ. Or it will reduce the impact of that bala'u. Dua will reduce the impact of the bala إِذَا نَزَلَ. If it had already come. That was why the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, الدعاء ينفع مما نزل ومما لم ينزل. Dua ينفع مما نزل. If the trouble, any trouble, ma nazala, any trouble that comes, ad-du'a yanfa'u fihi. Dua is beneficial regarding it. You are in a trouble, start making dua. It will yarfa'uhu aw yukhaffifuhu. It will either take it away or reduce its impact on you. That is when the trouble has already come. Wa mimma lam yanzil. Likewise, from the troubles that have not come, you are only afraid so trouble can come. Start making dua. The mother, yudafi'uhu wa yu'alijuhu. Dua will put it away from you. Wa yu'alijuhu. Dua will resolve it. The way anti-missiles resolve missiles and destroy them and put them away. Wallahi, dua is more efficacious than that. I have just brought that as an illustration to create a mental image, to make us understand how dua yudafi'u wa yu'alijul bala. So that was why he said, rahimahullah, wa du'a'u min anfa'il adwiya. From the most effective of medicines we can take is dua. Wa huwa aduwul bala. Dua is the enemy of troubles. Yudafi'uhu wa yu'alijuhu. It puts it away, it does not allow it to come to you. Wa yu'alijuhu. It resolves it, it does not allow it to come to you. Wa yamna'u nuzulahu. It prevents it from coming down. Wa yarfa'uhu aw yukhaffifuhu idha nazala. Yarfa'uhu. If it has already landed before you start making dua, yarfa'uhu. Dua can capture that bala. It will carry it and throw it away. Aw yukhaffifuhu. Or that it will reduce its impact on you. The impact could have been 90, 100%. Yukhaffifu dua. Dua well made, strong dua, efficacious dua, potent dua that is not destroyed by aklul halal wal haram. Aklul haram. That is not destroyed by your consuming haram. Strong, potent, effective dua, it will put away bala. It will remove it. It will protect it from descending. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam, dua yanfa'u mimma nazala wa mimma lam yanzil. Dua is efficacious and potent. Mimma nazala, from those troubles that are already there with us. Wa mimma lam yanzil, and from the things that have not come. You are upon depression, make dua. You are sick on the bed, make dua. You are a doctor curing a patient, make dua. You are a parent taking care of your child regarding a trouble, make dua. Your children are becoming discordant regarding Allah. Make dua. Beg Allah for them. Beg Allah to help them, to guide them, to make things easy for them. Dua, 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 ayyuhan nas, dua. May Allah make it easy for us and make us make effective and potent dua. We are coming back to this issue, inshallah, in greater details in the next class. Can we quickly take a question today about the Rahman?
Salawatullah alaikum ya Shaykhana. Jazakumullah khair.
Ameen, ameen, ameen wa iyaakum.
The question here is, Assalamu alaikum. Please, is there any correlation between negative impactful of soul and the evil eye?
Yes, we have explained it. Those who have nafsun fa'alatun mu'athiratun, a soul that is fa'ala, active and mu'athira, very impactful. It can be to evil, it can be to goodness. Some people of goodness, when you sit even in their company, they influence you. Your iman will rise. You will feel a sense of serenity. You feel a sense of goodness. You will feel a sense of khayr. You feel a sense of wanting to be a better person. Just merely sitting together. And likewise, some people just merely sitting together, you begin to feel like doing evil. You want to smoke. You want to look for a woman. You want to look at evil and things like this. So minds affect a lot. So the heart, the soul of the ayin is connected to that too. And these things are in degrees. Some people are very, very strong. Some are just very strong. Some are just strong. Some, the strength like that. There is varying degree of strength of all of these things. Varying degrees of strength occurs regarding all of these issues. Some are very, very strong. When you sit in their company, you are pushed to the kind of evil that they are upon. Some, they destroy what you have with their eyes and with their evil soul. May Allah protect us. That evil too is upon degrees. Some are very strong at that. Some at the lower values like that. The way the people of goodness are of varying degrees and strengths in terms of the impact their souls can create on people, the same way people are of varying degrees of strength in terms of the impacts of evil that they can create. May Allah protect us. I hope that it is clear.
Naam ya Shaykhana.
Can we call it a day today about the Rahman?
Naam ya Shaykhana.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.